Hello and welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host GP. At the time of recording, I would like to wish my own mother a happy Mother's Day, and to all the mothers out there, also a happy Mother's Day. It's been recorded Sunday, just so you know. But yeah, awesome. We've rescheduled this, but it's a massive blessing in disguise. As if you do follow me on social media, you will see that I went to the Arsenal game. Wasn't the result we wished for, but the voice is 100%. So the episode is going to be awesome. There you go. Today's guest is the hit woman of professional wrestling, British wrestling. Also the current UBW tag team champion, the Crimson Killshot Artemis. How you doing today? You all good?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
Awesome. Glad to have you on. So before we do rewind the clock, so I normally like to go back to the beginning, find out you got into wrestling, all that stuff. Just because it is actually happening in about 2 weeks' time, I want to discuss your upcoming match at Stotford Slamboree with yourself and Adonis Payne. Great guy, we will discuss later. The Odyssey, you'll be defending the tag team championships against the Armada. I also shout out to Sean Reed, by the way, who has been on the show about a year and a half ago, about 2 years ago. So for those that are going to be attending this, and even if you want to sell a few more tickets, what can they expect to see? And how do you feel going into this match?
Expect to see another great show, to be honest. The last defense that we had of the titles a couple of weeks ago was against Charles Crowley and Alexis Falcon. And I think just every match that me and Adonis have as a tag team, we just grow and we get better. And obviously Paul Hubris and Shauna Reed are a totally different type of opponent than we've had before. It's great as well, to be honest, to 2 matches in a row at UBW we've been against other intergender tag teams. And it's not actually very common on the scene, really. So
it's not, but it doesn't. When I've watched the matches, it just doesn't. It just feels like a normal match to me. No,
exactly. We don't sort of define ourselves as an intergender tag team. It's just that there's occasionally where it comes up as a roadblock where somebody will want to book one of us or the other and not as a tag team because we're intergender, and they don't do that, or whatever. But it's just really nice that's 2 in a row that we've got another team that's intergender. It's just it's a really positive thing in my view.
No, I love it. And I know you guys are going quite strong as well with the titles. Been keeping an eye out. I've sort of had Adonis Payne, who we'll be talking about later. But obviously, I wish you good luck. Sorry, Shauna Reed. I know she's been on the show before, but I'm cheering for you guys. Obviously, hometown as well, hometown, and not just because you're standing right there and probably can kick my ass. But no, it'll be good. Especially like WrestleMania weekend as well. It's it's gonna be fucking quality.
It'll be a great show, yeah.
So I'm going to rewind the clocks, and I want to discover what made you a wrestling fan in the first place.
Okay, so I mean, it's a mixed one for me. Like when I was a kid, I watched it for a bit. I got 2 older brothers, so I was not the one in charge of the remote control. So my brother was a fan of WWF at the time, WWE, and I watched it for a bit. Talking like around late 90s, early noughties, I guess. But obviously at the time there wasn't particularly women wrestling. I was
if there was, it was going to be 2-3 minutes. It's going to be like a stipulation,
or a panties match or something.
Stuff that just hasn't aged well at all. Yeah,
exactly. So I lost interest in it. Came away from it. Didn't really think much about it. And then a few years ago I met my other half, and he is a huge wrestling fan, but he got back into wrestling through like Japanese wrestling and New Japan and
nice.
that side of stuff. So I watched a bit of that sort of stuff with him, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is all right, and then we went to a Progress show. So that was my first time going to a live show. I want to say it was like 2017 or something like that. The dates have all sort of blurred together since pandemic. So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And it was a 70s themed show, and the match that I always remember is Nina Samuels against Isla Dawn, but that wasn't the names that were going under because they were doing the 70s themed thing. And I remember just being and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And that was seeing it live that made it really click for me.
Especially for it like being around the corner for me as well, and just to see like it's homegrown talent, you know, making a name for themselves. I mean, Progress still goes strong, which I'm happy for. Nina Samuels, she's really cool as well, and Isla Dawn, she's NXT, but especially with the fan base as well, and the fans fans are just as much part of the show as the wrestlers are, as you probably noticed.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's that thing of like, I mean, I was a drama kid at school. I used to do drama and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's why it clicked for me seeing it live compared to watching it on a screen.
Like, that's made for you, isn't it? Then being a drama, like
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and that was it then. So we'd go to the odd show, usually Progress or Eve or something like that. I remember going to a Lucha Libre show back in the Resistance Gallery in the middle of summer where it's like no air in the room, but
it's quite a small place. But once the wrestling's on and it's a good match, like you kind of forget when you come out there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then it was 2019. My other half's dad had saw this thing in Time Out magazine, and it was Eve had an academy wrestling school at the time, and they were putting on a free session. I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to go along.
Free, yeah.
Well, exactly, a free access in London, which is just like unheard of. It was like it was a really big session. There's a lot of people in it, and it was like I was one of few people that went back the second week.
Like, oh, really? How many? What's like sort of the percentage of people that returned to the second session? Would you say?
From that session, probably less than half, definitely.
I do understand why, though, to be honest, and I'm a fan, but I did it once, and I was just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. To be fair as well, I think now, like, obviously I'm well into wrestling now, but it was like the first session was a nice, easy session, realistically.
Oh, really?
But I think a lot of people were there because it was free. You know, it was a free activity on a Sunday.
Like, oh, which wrestlers can I meet as well? Just like, oh, just be like, oh, don't do my nails in, like,
yeah.
Like, it's not like that, not like that.
So yeah, there wasn't that many of us that went back, but yeah, it was then sort of obviously leading up to the pandemic. So it's about a year before the pandemic that I did my first session. I'd sort of go on and off. I wasn't necessarily looking to do anything with it or
sort of be committed to it.
Just and it was just every now and again. Can I afford the train this week to go down to London and that sort of thing. So I was really like casually training for the first year, just sort of going along for the fun of it. And then obviously the pandemic hit.
And literally like hold everything. Honestly. With the training, by the way, just before you kind of resume in and to get to where you are now, what kind of training were you doing? Because I know you said it wasn't as rigorous or kind of what people may have expected, but what kind of sort of like drills were you doing?
Gosh, to begin with, so if anyone that's ever trained at Lucha London School of Lucha Libre, Greg Burridge, who trains there, also trained at Eve, along with Rio O'Reilly, and they had a very specific warm-up that they did. There was a soundtrack to it, and it's the sort of thing where if the soundtrack played now, I could probably still do that warm-up. I would probably still know it.
Oh, do you remember what the soundtrack was?
It was I'll tell you what it was. It was a Ministry of Sound album.
Not that I'm on YouTube right now.
Like a Fiesta one, and I think it's like disc 3 because I got this CD without realizing what it was.
Yeah.
And I put it in my car, and it started playing, and I was just like, "This,
drop, roll, tackle, bump."
I've accidentally found the soundtrack.
No, I'm gonna have to dig for this. I'm on YouTube at the moment. I'll just put Ministry of Sound. Why's the album? I meant Fiesta.
Fiesta.
It's like a Sunday, guys, right? At the time recording.
Yeah.
But no, that's fine. If you do come across this track, by the way, just let me know, please.
Yeah, it's great. But
so the pandemic,
an hour or so warm up of just like moving your body, dancing.
Yeah.
It was moving, like warming up your ankles and just warming up your whole body before you then even like did anything. Obviously, learning the roles. That's wrestling lesson 1, I think, really for everyone is do a forward roll. And it's amazing because you go in thinking, I remember doing a forward roll as a kid.
Yeah.
I've not done one for 20 years. And you think, I know I can do it because I
Yeah.
remember doing it. But your body's just like, what are we doing? What is this?
No. We're
Yeah.
taller now. We're not smaller. Stuff hurts. Get back up as well.
Yeah. But it was quite I was quite a way into training before I had to take any bumps.
Hmm.
And I remember we went to one session where we drilled bumping. So we did an hour's warm up and then 2 hours of basically taking bumps for the first time.
Oh,
And I remember going to a show straight after. And I got to a point where I was almost like having to hold my head up with my hands because my neck was so achy from tucking my chin so much in
yeah.
that session. So that was probably like a bit of a shock, but I haven't had any other sessions that I felt so rough afterwards from.
Oh,
But
just
yeah.
hearing on this as well. Just nah. I made the right decision. I made the right decision. Don't get wrong. Be like, yeah, I love to do that, and then just like you've actually got to put the work in. It's like, no, not that much.
It's something now as well, like you don't even notice it, but at the time it was just muscles that you've never used before.
Yeah.
You don't use those
But you
muscles.
probably will get used to it eventually. It's like repetition and it's just doing it over and over again.
Absolutely,
Teach
yeah.
yourself to like absorb the pain and look at me to look like talking like I'm a pro, but
Yeah. You do though, your body sort of builds up like a tolerance. It understands what
yeah,
you're doing, and bumping is just it's part of the course, so you don't really feel it.
that's it. So you're saying about the pandemic sort of kind of I mean the pandemic itself just put a stop to everything,
Yeah.
especially wrestling, obviously contact and being around people. But when was it that you kind of got back into it and then kind of committed yourself a bit more into, becoming a pro wrestler?
So there's a school nearby that they were running training. I think that's where Adonis started actually.
Hmm.
In a like little village hall, not that far from where I live. Um, but during, I think just before the pandemic, they'd set up a new unit where there was a ring up full time and there was like exercise equipment and stuff in there as well. And they'd got a decent facility going.
Hmm.
Um, so that had kind of established itself before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, when allowed to again, people were sort of able to sort of pair up and do ring time when restrictions allowed it, kind of
Mm.
thing. Um, but I was also like, I was aware of it there, but because I'd only dabbled really with training in the year leading up to the pandemic, I didn't feel comfortable going in and doing ring time by myself yet. So I had to wait for classes sort of to come back again. And I think it was I want to say May in 2021. It's around that time, May, June time. And they started doing classes there. And Hustle had reopened and we're doing classes. And
Hmm.
so I did a course with Hustle and I was going to Square One twice a week. And sort of really was like, yeah, I'm gonna push myself with this now and see
Gonna
what
go for
happens.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of those environments just really good environments to learn in. Really supportive environment. Obviously, certainly at Square One, I was the only female in the classes that I was
Oh,
going.
really?
Yeah, it'd usually be me and sort of up to seven other guys, but most of the time I was the only female there.
Hmm.
But I never felt like I was the only.
If
Do you
you
know what I
were
mean?
the only female,
We were
you
doing
just
the same
felt
training. There
this
wasn't
is seven
any
people that all want
exactly.
to train to be a wrestler.
Exactly. And it was always just a really supportive environment. And then Hustle as well. I think um, when I started, I think Rain Leverkusen, she was also
Yeah,
training
someone you
there.
would go on to wrestle.
Exactly. Yeah. So she just started, and Amira, I think she goes by now. So she's still new on the scene, but
Hmm.
I think she's starting to make some waves, which is great to see. She was also there, so there was a couple of other girls there to train with, which was quite nice. But also, again, it's not like you're separated because you're the girls or anything. It's
Hmm.
everyone's just training
Yeah,
to be a
no,
wrestler.
I respect that. One thing I do like to ask on the show is, especially with British talent, wrestling debut, your first ever match, because I do tend to get more funny stories and more, not just oh I went in, that was it. Okay, cool. But there'll be it might not be a funny story, but it tends to be interesting. But I want to know about your first ever match. How do you think it went? How did you find out? Any friends or family there? Were you victorious, or was it maybe a rumble? But tell me more. Go into detail. Your first ever wrestling match.
My first ever match was against Tommy Kyle. It was at Square One show, December
The Top
2021.
Gun gimmick is that one?
That's it. Yeah,
That's the
that's the
guy. Yeah,
fight.
yeah, that is cool.
So he took a lot of the sessions at Square One beginners classes. So he was also my teacher,
Hmm.
teacher versus student match. And to be honest, in some ways, my first match, it's like it's a good story because I had a good match. We had a good match, but it was like there was no big. Some people have big like blunder stories from their first match,
Yeah, yeah,
which are
yeah.
quite
I've had a
funny
few.
to hear about. But I was really fortunate that actually it was quite a smooth match. I remember because I was the heel in the dynamic. I had to go out first, and I was like, I remember I felt fine, felt fine, felt fine, and then you're behind the curtain waiting to come out, and your music starts playing. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is actually happening.
I
Oh my
don't want to do it.
and it's like I had to come out and be like this
Yeah.
composed. See,
That you got to
Artemis
get this fans.
very
I've never seen you. I hate you straight
composed.
away.
Yeah, exactly. So I had some wrestling friends that specifically came to watch my debut, but I didn't have any. My family's only ever seen me wrestle once, which was a little bit later on. But my now tag partner Adonis, his family was there. Obviously, they didn't know me at the time.
Ah, fair enough.
Whereas now they're basically like my family on the on these shows. But yeah, I did my entrance, and then it was like I was in the ring waiting for Tommy to enter and do his entrance, and that was I was in the ring. I was like, I just want to start wrestling
But he's
now.
like, "Who the fuck off? Stop milking us."
I was just like, I was nervous then. I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I think realistically it went really well.
No, but I
As I
like to
said,
hear this as
first
well. Like, I
match.
like to hear everything. I'm not saying I want to be a botchamania story, but I like to hear everyone's stories and the fact that you actually had a positive story against someone
Yeah.
who's quite well known already, and for you to be positive about it. I like it though.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, my second match was literally the following day at a student show at Play Fight.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I sustained my first concussion in that match.
Fucking.
um, so there was a spot where I was basically on all fours and got drop kicked in the side of the head. And I just remember sort of seeing stars, and then I don't really remember much else of the match. That was my first concussion. But then I wrestled again the following week, which probably wasn't the wisest thing to do.
In this
Looking
day
back
and
on it
age,
now, but
I mean, I,
um,
because I'm kind of from sort of watching it from where it's just kind of normalized, wasn't it? It was just, it is what it is. Concussion, oh, cool, yeah, finish match. But
I
in
sort
this
of
day
didn't
and age,
understand the ramifications of it at the time either. That's the
yeah,
thing. I really didn't understand. That
yeah, I'll
probably
wrestle
wasn't a
again.
sensible idea,
I
but
don't know my name, but I'll wrestle again.
yeah. It was a tag match as well. And I remember I was tagging with Charles Crowley as my tag partner.
Yeah,
And it was on a charity show. And he specifically asked for me because he was going to be tagging with Clementine, and she basically decided to isolate so that she could travel. So she wasn't going to be on the show, and he'd asked for me, and I was like, well, I've been asked for, I can't say no.
well,
Like,
Charles Christ asked me,
and
yeah, go on
he
then.
found out that I'd taken this knock to the head, and he was like, I'll take all the heat. You just do what you need to do, and he was like really protective of me, which is it's nice, but yeah.
Yeah, fair play though, fair play. Like, so some pretty good runs of matches then. I like it. I will go back to someone that has been mentioned a few times in the show, your current tag team champion partner, Thomas Payne. Had him on about 5-6 months ago. Really good chat, really nice lad. He's certainly working hard, bulking up already, I can see. So, but I want to hear about your first impression of him. What is it like? What's it like to be teaming with him? Your first match as a tag team, and what are your goals as a tag team going forward?
First impression, I think I met him so before that I was on shows, and he
Hmm.
was on a show that I was helping out at. We had a bit of a chat and that, and I met a lot of new people that day. So I don't necessarily know that I formed a really strong impression specifically of him that day, because it's like I'm someone that struggles with like meeting a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was one of those days for me where I met a lot of
So
people,
you
and it's
decided
like,
to become a wrestler then?
yeah,
Gotcha.
make these decisions honestly. But my first proper like impression of him was the show that I did my debut, and he was also on that show.
Yeah.
I remember talking to him a lot more on that show beforehand, before going out, and And he spoke to me after the show and that as well. But it was during that show that we'd sort of had the conversation about, obviously I was going by Artemis, he was going by Adonis, as like the Greek mythology theme going on. And I was like, we're basically like a tag team written here. And at the time we were in sort of similar coloured gear. And we sort of said about it without necessarily like thinking anything would come of it, or going in with any goals or anything. It's like, oh, we could look into that like down the line, see what happens. And actually it was him, he gave me feedback at the end of my match there from his family, or his family had watched, and they'd had a really good impression of me from my match, which was really nice to hear. And he made the effort of making sure I knew that, which was really nice. And then at UBW we joined a faction with memes. So he formed the meme team. And that was with myself and Adonis.
He's so loud in matches. Funny though. But I actually met him before. Like, I think I went for like kind of a work experience at Wrestle Talk, and he was there before the long hair, and he became a wrestler. But
yeah,
I think he was a writer or something. Like, I could be wrong. I don't remember what position he was, but yeah, I just randomly remember that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of like through the conversation.
No, fine, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, continue. Sorry.
He formed the meme team, and so we'd done a bit of this was my first, like, I suppose, proper UBW show, like after Square One, and obviously I'd done the charity show the year before. I think this was February, must have been last year, gosh. And it was WrestleMania. There's a show every year called WrestleMania at UBW. And we formed the stable there. So I was Memes' surprise tag partner. So I was tagging with Memes, not Adonis. But Adonis came out and got involved in our match, and we established the meme team at that point. So we had a couple of other like bits and bobs going on. I remember we had a match where it was like a 3 versus 3. So the three of us would tag in together on a student show. And again, that's like a match that I look back on now, and it's 3 versus 3 tag matches have so much potential to be absolute chaos. But it ended up being a really good match. We got a lot of good feedback about the fact it was 3 versus 3, and it was like one of the best sort of 3 versus 3.
I can imagine like what can be chaotic, you can probably have so much fun at the same time, and it might be a bit easier on your bodies as well.
Yeah, you take some bumps now. Yeah. But I think me and Adonis, our first proper tag match was at UBW. It must have been in July last year. And it was against West Side Heat, so Smashing Mike and James Toner. And still today, one of my favourite matches that I've been in. Smashing Mike obviously is just the embodiment of charisma anyway.
Yeah.
But he's a really good friend. Trained with him a lot and stuff as well. So we were able to have quite a lot of fun with that match as well. But it was one of those things where I think we had that match and we got back afterwards, and everyone was like, "Are you guys becoming a tag team now? You've got to stay together." Like the chemistry that we'd had in the ring,
the Greek mythology. I think as well, you do look like, it's just. I mean, at the time, I think, what did he say? I think he did mention it, like kind of the China. I think he mentioned that as you were for him. I bet he didn't.
Yeah, no,
I think he did. Yeah.
So I do a lot of I do a lot of power moves and strength stuff. So I'm the muscle kind of.
That's it. Yeah.
Obviously, him now going on a bulk, it's kind of ruining our dynamic. But
stop improving your body.
Stop getting so strong. But yeah, so that was kind of our dynamic as well. So it was different to what you usually see as well. Obviously, I mentioned intergender tag teams, and it's not to sort of put us into that pigeonhole, but a lot of other intergender tag teams, it's the man is the muscle and the girl is, she might be the gobby one, or she does a bit of high flying or whatever, and we're really the opposite. So it's like, that's what we like doing and what our strengths are, and it works.
No, I like it. It's like a modern sort of Triple H in China, isn't it? It's just where, like, obviously he was quite a big guy still, but she was the muscle, she was the power, and I think as well he's got the sword and you've got the. I can't do it as cool as you when you do that with the arrow. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
that's my attempt. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's like Artemis is the Greek goddess of the hunt, so it's like building into that. It came out of that, but. Yeah, so we had that first tag match, and it was one of those things where it just went really well.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh wow, okay, maybe we could, do this more. I think we had a couple of other matches. This bit, I can't even remember that well. Last summer was a bit of a lot going on. So we had a few more matches tag team, and then it came up. Obviously, James Toner unfortunately got injured, not wrestling, but he broke his leg. And the opportunity came up for us to then go for the belts.
Yeah.
And obviously we became the tag champions, and it was like, for us it was just a bit surreal because we'd not really been tagging together very long at all, and we were just really fortunate to have how well we gelled as a tag team.
We present that opportunity, you've got to take it though.
Absolutely. So, you know, obviously we jumped it. I think even on the day we won the belts, and it still just didn't sink in the whole day that we were now the tag champs. It was like, it was this thing where I was just expecting the promoter to come out and be like, "There's been a terrible mistake."
You know, straight after the match, like a few matches later. Yeah, sorry, we fucked up. Sorry.
Yeah. It was like, I took it home and I was like, I've still got it. What?
All right, I'll come back.
What is it? Yeah. And obviously we've tagged together at other places as well, and we're currently double champs. So we've got the belts for United Wrestling as well. We're their first ever tag champs.
Nice.
Well, so it's just going really well, and it's obviously now we're sort of playing with the face dynamic as well. You know, at the last show, the meme team kind of disintegrated at UBW, and we're sort of going it alone without memes now. So
poor memes.
Dynamic, but
no, I think I'm just kind of so used to it. Like, sorry. Go on, Artemis. Go on, Adonis Payne. Fuck memes. No, I'm kidding. Memes. I don't know if he's gonna watch this, but I'm kidding. Banter. America's folks are like, what the fuck's he talking about?
Yeah, so we're just going from strength to strength, really, and it's you know, we're getting.
Yeah, both still quite early in the career. I think he's been like another year or two, but like before, but still, like both still quite young, still young in the career, still so many options, and can still tweak this, maybe add another member, and just so much to do. And it's like UBW. I really like the presentation. I like the roster. I like the matches. It's a really good company. We've had like a talent, including yourself, on the show, and they've all just turned out to be really good conversations, and just everyone's well mannered. You know, you all speak very nice. It's all good. But no, it's all good. It's all good. One thing I do want to ask you is there any other places you would like to wrestle? And I'm not saying companies, but I mean countries outside of the UK. Anyway, you get your eye up on.
I mean, I think
Japan, maybe you mentioned earlier, like your other half got you into New Japan.
Japan would be an incredible place to wrestle, I think. To be honest, like, I sort of came into wrestling not with any specific goals in mind, and I've been really like fortunate, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities and everything that I've been given already. And it's been, you know, like this year already, I've debuted at 5 or 6 companies, or like by February, and it was a bit of an insane like.
I know, like we're just I mean, Rachel's interview, like you've been pretty damn busy. I know that, and obviously with shoot jobs as well. And I think just by the time we're recording this, it's on a Sunday, by the way. But I'm more than happy to do it because it's been worth it. But yeah, just for you, I can understand pretty much what you're saying and follow up on that. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mad. So it's like you know, wrestling in another country would be incredible. Obviously,
but not at the top of your list right
USA and Japan, and but if the opportunity presented itself, I can't imagine myself turning it down. But I'm just kind of open to seeing what happens, really.
I like that mentality, because I know like a lot of people, and they've been watching wrestling from pretty much young age, they have this plan that they just know, like they've got their goals, they want to do this, they want to win this, they want to wrestle there and there. But I like the fact that you kind of free flowing. It's just when it comes to me, kind of more in the present now. As opposed to 5 years, 3 years. I've got to win it. If I don't win it, what am I doing in my life? You know.
I had the goal to have a match.
I can imagine it doesn't stress you out either.
No, it's
that mentality.
Like it can do.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, I had the goal to have a match. So you know, once I've hit that, I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's tick, you know.
Yeah.
done. And like I said, I've been really fortunate. I've had a lot of opportunities presented, and I have been quite busy already this year, which is great. Um, but I'm also like, I'm realistic. I've come into wrestling probably later than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I turned 30 last year, so I'm a bit older than my tag partner.
He's still in his 20. I might say that because I'm a bit older, so
yeah. So I've come into wrestling later than a lot of people, and
yeah,
I'm fully aware as well, like, that it can kind of get snatched away from you a little bit as well.
yeah.
You know, you hear of people that are sort of forced to retire through injury or things
Age, prime
happen.
example. I mean, she's come back, but she was what, 25, mid-20s, and
Yeah,
been wrestling since she was like 10, and just
exactly.
taken away.
It takes a toll on your body. Like, wrestling
Yeah.
is risky thing to do.
Mm.
I obviously said to you, I sustained another concussion 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. Very
Yeah.
much
Just
in recovery from that. And I was lucky, like, I didn't have any bookings this weekend. I'd got other plans where I'd not
yeah.
been able to take bookings.
I am grateful, by the
And the
way,
one
with
that I was
I know
due to
because the
wrestle
fact
on
that you
next
are
week has been
still
cancelled. So
the
it's
fact that you're
kind
not
of
100%, but you are still doing this. That I do. That means a lot. That you know.
yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
good.
Thank you.
I did forget about, we were meant to record on Friday, and my
It's
brain.
cool. It's a blessing. Like I said at the
Honestly.
beginning, like, I think that's actually give you a heads up. With the original date we've scheduled for, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna watch Arsenal. It's Europa League. It's a late game. Voice might be a bit tired, might not be 100%, but still do this. So
Yeah.
the fact that I wasn't. I was just like, it was such a blessing in disguise. Honestly, I've never been so happy about a podcast scheduled in my life. Or straight back to bed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just waffle on for the folks out there. Sorry.
But yeah, so like, I sustained a concussion 2 weeks ago, and it's like, you know, again, I think I've been quite lucky with it.
Yeah.
It's not been great, but you know, my next show's in 2 weeks, and I think I should be fine for that.
You will be
And
fine.
thankfully, it's, you know, we've got 2 tag matches that weekend as well, so I've got my tag partner there to help and support as well.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a couple of guys in AEW that have been out for a long time with concussion. They're just starting to, you know, bring them
Yeah.
back in.
Adam Cole.
Exactly.
I remember Enzo was out in WWE for ages, and just everyone's body's different. I remember even like CM Punk, one of his shows, he was like, I think he had a concussion, but he felt absolutely fine. Did the test. He was even texting whilst he was doing the test. Just like, yep, fine, cool. Can I go back? Yeah, cool. Fine.
Yeah,
Everyone's
exactly.
body is different, but you
It's
know,
very different case to case. I think concussion to concussion as well. Like, you can have 2 concussions and they're very different from each
yeah.
other. But
I've had a concussion from not wrestling for one. I
yeah.
mean, it was self-inflicted. Like sliding down the escalator, I broke my elbow, and yeah, it was. I thought it'd be a fun idea. I was really young, but yeah, it wasn't the smartest idea. But yeah, then like I was, oh god, my eyes all side. Like I was on the piss, but I was really young. But I never shared that story. Fair enough.
Yeah.
First time for for that story, everyone. I didn't think I'd be ever tell that story, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah.
But no, I'll stop waffling on. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming on. I know
Thank
we've
you for having
scheduled
me.
this
Yeah.
since last year, but it's totally worth it. And you know, I'm very happy that you still remain positive, even having your injuries, concussions. But your upcoming tag team match in 2 weeks, I will be cheering for you guys. Whoop.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Honestly, got my support. Obviously, shout out to Donna's Payne as well. He actually messaged me on my birthday. That was really nice of him. That was really nice. I was like,
Good
oh,
guy. It's good. Good
oh,
egg.
oh. But no, cool. I'm joking, man. He's cool. But I have UBW as well. Awesome. Got my support as well. But I'll put the details for the listeners to follow you on social media. And if they want to do that, how can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram. Is probably my most like active account. I think it's Artemis PW. I'm on Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter. And I just I
No TikTok
interact
then.
on there, but I'm not the biggest social media user.
Nah, that's fine. I know you don't post a lot. I think everyone's different. I think I kind of have to for the podcast, but if I
That's the
didn't
thing.
have the
It's
podcast, I wouldn't really care as much.
if I could get away with not doing social media, I probably would. But I know it's really important to people to interact with them, and
Let
I
your
try
words
and do
speak
it.
for
But
itself. Don't worry. Yeah,
it's like it becomes like a full-time job on the side. Otherwise, it's like I have to sort of give some distance
if
sometimes.
anyone wants a job out there, you can become Artemis's social media handler. If anyone wants to work out there,
Volunteer as well.
depends how skint you are, but we'll find out. Sorry, volunteers. You'll get a reference though, none pay. But yeah, we'll get that in. But now, thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. For the listeners out there, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend because this will be coming out before the end of the weekend. If you could follow Artemis on her social media handles, I will put the descriptions below. If I put the actual social media, no, I put the tags in the description below. That's what I meant. Fuck's sake. I think I had a concussion, but yeah. If you can follow me, also my social media handles, that'd be awesome. They are in the same place as they usually are, and that's in the description below. If you can like this video, if you can subscribe to the account, see who I've got lined up next, that'll be brilliant. But for now, everyone, I hope you'll have a great weekend, evening, day, whenever you listen to this. Take care. Hello there. I've got a special announcement for my next guest.
I am the ultimate finesser, your girl's favorite wrestler, Bullet Club Zone and Impact Wrestling's one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Chris Bay. And you are on What Do You Call It podcast. Listen up right now.
You heard also too sweet.